what distinguishes Golden Breath among other forms of Tai Chi is that it really emphasizes breath with fluid motion. And by breathing in and out and doing the moves, one move goes into the other, you really build up your strength. It really helps your immune system, and it is very helpful with a lot of conditions. And I myself have Spasmodic Torticollis as well as Generalized Dystonia. And I have Generalized Dystonia as well as Tardive Dyskinesia. Now, Tardive Dyskinesia is a disease, dystonia, which is caused by prolonged use of psychiatric medications. And I've been on psychiatric medications most of my adult life. And one medicine in particular, Stelazine, which helped me function very well, actually did damage to me, damage to the basal ganglia, which is part of the brain that causes your movement function. So I attend Golden Breath American Tai Chi. I'm from Philadelphia, and I attend class in Northeast Philadelphia. And I go to class once a week, and I do the exercises religiously 3 times a day. There are people in the class who have Spasmodic Torticollis, and I'll talk about her in a few minutes, Karen. And there's people who have MS, they have Parkinson. One guy has a brain injury. And there's people all ages, young to senior citizens. And I really had amazing results from the Golden Breath American Tai Chi. So let me talk about my symptoms. I have Tardive Dyskinesia, and how I developed that was one day I woke up and I saw that I looked in the mirror and my cheeks were puffing in and out. At first, initially, I thought it was because of the leg lifts I was doing as part of my exercise regimen. But then I realized it was more serious than that, because the puffing in and out of the cheeks turned into grimacing. And I was diagnosed with Tardive Dyskinesia, and like I said, it's caused by prolonged use of psychiatric medications. And the Stelazine, which caused it, I still had it after I got off that medication. So I have it pretty much permanently, but it has been lessened with the Golden Breath exercises. As far as my Generalized Dystonia, what I saw was that my breathing got gradually worse. It got progressively worse. And a good example of that was if I walked around the corner for lunch to a restaurant that I like to go to, I would have to stop about 3 or 4 times before I reached my destination just to catch my breath. I also go to a therapist in Center City, and this is before I started the class. When I was finished with my session with my therapist, I would have to walk several blocks to the bus stop. And when I got on the bus, it was very common for one of the passengers to come up to me before I took a seat, that if I was all right, because they saw that my breathing was so labored, they thought I was having a heart attack or a asthma attack. I also had a lot of pain with lateral movement. Just a slight twisting from left and right caused some pain. And my head would be constantly in motion, and it would resemble a person who has Parkinson. And some people felt I had Parkinson or even cerebral palsy because of the grimacing. And when I did walk for a period of time, I had to walk on the tips of my toes because I had trouble just putting my foot down. So that took a lot of energy out of me. So how I found out about Golden Breath is very interesting, and I'd like to tell this story to a lot of people. A friend of mine, I used to teach for Center for Literacy, and a friend of mine said I should get into a support group for what I have. And I found this support group for dystonia in Paoli, Pennsylvania, which is a suburb of Philadelphia. And I, like I said, live in northeast Philadelphia, so it's about over an hour drive to get to the support group. And I go with a supporter person who helps me. And when I went to the first meeting, they were very welcoming. It's a great support group, the dystonia support group, run by a couple, Bernie and Art Hindle. And just shortly, when I started the support group, after the first few meetings, I learned how to accept my condition. And before I was in the group, I was really very self-conscious about it. I mean, I was able to do things socially, but it was playing on my mind, and it was really affecting my self-esteem. So originally I had this condition 12 years ago when my cheeks started puffing in and out. And I joined this group about 8 years ago. 7, 8 years ago. And they meet on Saturdays about 4 times a year. And early on, when I started the group, they had a presentation by Golden Breath Tai Chi. And it was Karen Green, Karen, who I mentioned previously, who has Spasmodic Torticollis. And she had pictures of her before she joined, and her head was resting on her shoulder. If you look at Karen today, you wouldn't even notice she has Spasmodic Torticollis, because her head is on straight. And what happened was, Karen and 2 other instructors did a demonstration, and they had the people in the group get up and try to do the exercises. And I was reluctant to go up there. I really didn't want to do it. I felt embarrassed. And Karen finally recalls that when I was standing behind her to do the moves and follow her in the demonstration, she was afraid I was going to fall on top of her because my balance was so poor. And, but, I didn't fall on her, thank God. That wouldn't be good. But after the group, one of the other instructors, Tom, comes up to me and tells me how much Golden Breath could help my condition. And I listened, and I found out the group the main headquarters was in northeast Philadelphia, where I lived, in the same section of the city where I live in my apartment. So by going out to Paoli Memorial Hospital, an hour away from where I live, I found Golden Breath, which is relatively close to my home. So I really felt that it was, that's God's presence. It was really amazing. So I didn't start the group right away because I had to commit to it, at least once a week. But that fall, I joined the class, and Robert Kasov, the founder, said that, Jeff, you're meant to be here. And I was very touched by that because I'm a spiritual person. And I saw initial improvements early on. And my breathing became less labored. My walking gradually got better. But I really didn't see how far I had come until I visited my relatives in Florida that winter. And we went to Universal Studios. And I saw the tremendous improvements I made from the year before, because when I went to Universal Studios, I was able to walk around the whole theme park the whole day without getting overly tired or being a burden. And the year before, just 1 year before, I needed a scooter to get around Epcot Center. So that shows you how dramatic change it made in that short period of time. So then my breathing got to the point where it became normal. And a good example of that was I was in a walkathon, for an organization in this last spring, and I was able to walk 3 miles without actually stopping and not being out of breath by the time I got done. I'm able to walk several blocks at a fast pace without getting out of breath. And years ago, since I could remember, I always had an uneven gait. When I walked, I would walk from side to side, and family and friends could recognize me at a distance by the motion, not by seeing my face. Well, that's no longer the case. I'm able to walk straight, and I feel my posture has even improved since last year, since I spoke in Orlando here for the NSTA. Also, when I joined the class, and Justin could attest how I looked in Newark in 2002. I think that was just a little before I started the Tai Chi. I was over 300 pounds, and I really had trouble just, going from room to room. And I've kept weight off. I used to have a waist about 50 and 48, or even higher sometimes. I would lose weight and gain it back, but I'm able to maintain my waist size at 42 since joining the class. So that's amazing in itself. I used to be afraid to go up the stairs when I was teaching on the L stop, because I was so out of breath and my heart was pounding so fast. I was afraid I was going to have a heart attack. And now, even though I don't like to climb up steps, I'm not fearful of it. Another example of how far I've came is I used to have a very pale complexion. And people say, it looks like you're not getting a lot of air. And I wasn't housebound, but my complexion was very pale. And with the Tai Chi, because it circulates the blood, I have more color in my face. Also, Tai Chi and Golden Breath is special because the movements are fluid and go into one another, and there's no really difficult poses that some Tai Chi classes you have to do. it's really not hard to keep your balance. As far as balance, there was a number of times where I felt like I was going to fall and break my neck. And I was able to regain my balance by, instinctively, by doing these movements on a regular basis. I guess it was about 3 weeks ago, I worked for the Philadelphia Department of Behavioral Health in Center City, Philadelphia. And I traveled down by public transportation. I wouldn't be able to hold my job without the Tai Chi because I would be exhausted by the time I got to my workplace. So I'm able to work and function and bring a lot of enthusiasm to my job. But part of my job is, like every 3 months, we do a training on group facilitation skills for different participants. And I was the trainer just about 3 weeks ago. And I was up in front of the group, it was a PowerPoint presentation, and when I was done one of the slides, I tripped over the cord. And if I fell, I lost my balance, but I was able to regain it. I would not just fall on the floor, I would fall into an easel that was on the side of me. So I'm very thankful. See, balance is really important because, especially when you get older, you really don't want to break a hip that really can incapacitate you for a while. So that is a big thing. I'm able to have the balance and more coordination. So my head doesn't shake anymore. My head is still pulled to the side, but it's not as much. Another thing that I found out was by doing the Tai Chi, and this is my personal experience, I'm not going to say it's going to help everyone the same way. I was able to build up a lot of muscle tone by doing the exercises and not have to go to the gym and work out hours to change my body. And my weight is distributed around my equally around my body now. I used to have wide hips and had trouble just pulling up my pants. Now they're fine. I used to have, as long as I can remember, I used to have heavy thighs, and now they're normal or even on the thin side. So these are things that I really didn't think I could change at all. That I felt, I was just genetic opposed to it, and that's amazing to me that I can change things that I felt that I can improve it at all at. And my posture is much better. My shoulders used to be way up in the air, and now they do go up, but not to the same degree. I have arthritis, but I don't have the tightness I had before because of the flexibility of the moves. My cholesterol now is 96. I mean, there's different factors for that. It used to be over high 200s. My triglycerides were much higher than they were now. So it can help in a lot of ways. Another thing that I found out, besides the physical improvements, has really helped me emotionally and with my concentration. I can approach a day in an upbeat mood, where before, I could, if I woke up in a bad mood, it would linger for hours. But now, if I seem to have a positive attitude with life by doing the exercises in the morning, I do them 3 times a day, But by doing it in the morning and doing it before night, I go to bed, I'm able to approach the day in a positive way. I also found that my listening skills has improved because my focus has improved. By doing the moves of Golden Breath, you're focusing on your breath, and it helps your concentration. I always had a good long-term memory, but now I can remember things that happened recently. And because my focus is sharper, I'm able to read from like 7 to 10 books a year, where before I would only read a book occasionally. Tai Chi, Golden Breath American Tai Chi has done wonders for my life, and I believe it's part of God's plan. One of the friends I met at the Symposium mentioned to me yesterday that she attended a Tai Chi class that was run by a nun. And I think that confirms that by doing the Tai Chi, it really doesn't affect any belief that you have. That it's a way of keeping yourself healthy without being part of any kind of religion. So, Tai Chi has helped me tremendously. When I think about how I found the Golden Breath class by going to a hospital over an hour away from where I live, it shows me that I was meant to be in Golden Breath, and shows how God can work in our lives. I also write in the journal every night, and that's part of my discipline as well. And I do say my prayers and read the Bible. So Golden Breath American Tai Chi has helped me in a lot of ways. I believe it can help everyone in here in some way, and most likely in multiple ways. I would like to thank you for listening, and